If you're over 40 and you want to become strong, fit, and lean without going to the gym twice as fast, then download my free ebook in the first link in the description. All right, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of the Kettle Nights podcast. And oh my God, I was looking forward to this because if you are in kettlebell sport, you know the gentleman that I have right now in front of me. He's an elite kettlebell sport lifter. He's a legend in the sphere. Everybody who gets into kettlebell sport knows Denis, or once you go a little bit deeper into it, you'll definitely understand and you'll know who Denis is. A legend in the kettlebell sport sphere. And one thing that I find even more fascinating is he was my first podcast. I remember it's like maybe 4 years ago. I booked Denis for a session. I wanted to improve my technique. And then we took parts of that session into a conversation. I asked him to record it. And this is actually how the podcast got started. And so now, 90 conversations and 4 years later, I have the man, the myth, the legend back on the podcast, which I'm so happy. So Denis Vasilev, the legend, welcome to the podcast.
You're ready, my friend.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I have to say thank you. We have to say thank you because what we're now going to dive in is going to be, friends, you got to get your notebooks out. You got to take a lot of notes because this is going to be a learning episode that I was looking for. But before we jump into all things kettlebell sport, Denis, please give us your background. How did you get started with kettlebell sport? I know you moved from Russia to the US. And your background in fitness in general, how did you become the legend that you are? I think 12-time world champion, an elite kettlebell sport lifter. Go ahead, give us your story.
Well, what my parents told me that I just was a really active kid, and we're talking about, well, it looks like their patience reached the limit by like age 6, by my age 6, so they booked me into martial arts, and it was a kickboxing first. So I started doing kickboxing around like 6 years old, and then I think in about like age 10 we switched to combat called hand-to-hand combat. In Russian, it's called a rukopashny boy. It's kind of like a fight sambo, close to it. It's a long pants there, also, and it's kind of rukopashny boy guys who's in martial arts. They know what the sport is about. It's using in forces in Russia, in police and in military. So it's kind of like predecessor of a mixed fight, maybe. So it's strikes of fists, of legs, of elbows. It's kind of like really everything in one. So you can find some like Muay Thai elements in it, elbows and knees, and you can wrestle there. So it was a great experience. I think that's where I was formed as the athlete. And it was GPP was all calisthenics, a bunch of push-ups, pull-ups, abdominals, planks, plus for character, that also was a good challenge. It's adrenaline rush before fight, nothing else. I've got I was doing it through school, all the way up to high school. So I've got about 40 fights. If don't have written records, but as far as I remember, about 40 fights. And
40 fights just in that when you got into martial arts, you actually got into fights, so some with the referee and everything, right?
Yeah, competitions.
Wow,
yes.
cool. Competitions, I was looking for the word. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. But closer to high school, I start to get interested also in some bodybuilding, literally building some muscles, so I joined the school gymnasium, and almost right away, one of the classes, and we kind of was there just, lifting weights, and our teacher shows up, and she said that, guys, we're forming a school team for kettlebell sport. Here's a pair of 24s. So let's go. Jerk first. Like everyone tried jerk and then snatch second. So I did 25 jerks with double 24s, and I was 15 back then, and then 25 snatches per arm. And he said, okay, you're in competitions in something like 2 months. Get ready.
Let's go.
Yeah, so
It's-
so so that was a start, and yeah, it was 1999. Well, and from that point, first it was school competitions was kind of self-taught, really no programming. I still was showing up to school gymnasium, and just first thing I was doing is just my max jerks, my max snatches, and then I proceed to regular routine that I used to have, like squats, bench, just regular weights.
Mhm.
And with this type of preparation, I made it to, by the end of the high school, I think my jerk was around like 50 reps ish, and snatch, I think maybe like 80 total reps, also ish, like between 80 and 90, I think. Was enough to win school competitions, and even I was selected to a city team for it wasn't like championship of Russia, really. It was more like somewhat like the Russian ex exhibition of a kettlebell sport, or maybe it was a school competition. So it wasn't like a stadium, not really a proper sport venue, but in Moscow was a competition. So that was enough uh, for me to be noticed by coaches from the college I was expecting to go. And yeah, when I get to this college, so these guys found me. Actually, I didn't really want them to find me because I wasn't really a big a fan of this kettlebell sport. Back then, I still was more like just in martial arts and in weightlifting. But they found me and said, "We saw you there on this competition, so come on, you're now in the college team. Let's do it." And well, it was more like a just a rational decision because it was convenient
Mhm.
because the
Mhm.
college was a bit far away, so it wasn't like really comfortable for me to go to martial arts anymore.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I just start doing it because, well, I've done it a bit before, and it looks like team is interested in me, and it's great honor. So let's do it.
Mhm.
And the guys was a little bit more advanced around, so it was like about CMS level guys in the team. So it was at least some experience exchange and some like actual
Mhm.
motivation and
Mhm.
someone to look up to.
Would you say,
And
Dennis, if I just may ask a question already, would you say that's 25 years ago? How would you rate the level of skill back then from a athlete and coach's perspective?
I think it's more of just a local region
Hmm.
situation because this Kaliningrad, where I was grew up, it wasn't just much of kettlebell sport traditions really compared to other regions. Uh, because let's say if all that was happening in St. Pete, most likely I would get elite, well, like supreme, preparation right away.
Hmm. Hmm.
Having like this like Sergey Rachinsky and Sergey Kirillov, like all this like big guys and well, big I mean figures of kettlebell sport. But in Kaliningrad, so the whole history of the region, it was and still I think only three Master of Sport International class, and with quite a big gaps in between. And the very first one was Mikhail Babushkin, and he's
Hmm.
actually back to lifting now. Like he's on social medias. I believe if not in late, if in early 60s, then in late 50s. He is now,
Hmm. Hmm.
and he was champion of the Soviet Union in the late 80s. He was famous for longest jerk performance. It was back then when there was no time limits. So he was performing jerk with double 32s for about 2 hours, and he was managing
What?
uh, about 400 jerks. Yeah.
But I'm putting the kettlebell down, right, and then picking them back up. I'm assuming.
No, 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 no. You're not allowed to put put them down. No,
You
it's the
try to
same. It's same
tell me
rules
that
like
you...
now, just no time limits.
So this guy shows up and does, how many reps did you just say? How many reps?
About 400.
400 reps in 2 hours with double 32s without putting the kettlebell down.
Yep.
I've never heard that story. That's wow. That's impressive. And for wow, having these double 32s in the rack position, you know how heavy they are. Oh my, wow. That's
it was a
fascinating.
stage of kettlebell sport where was no time limits.
Mhm.
So which I never saw them in person, but I assume was pretty boring show to watch because set started and you don't know when it's be over, and it's kind of slow burn
Yes,
because
yes.
guys going like pretty slow pace, and
Of
even was a
course.
stories that some guys even was kind of almost napping in the rack, like and was doing like jerks occasionally, like couple reps a minute or something.
Almost falling asleep, right? That's
Yeah, so comfortable
fascinating.
in the rack. Yeah, the
Yeah.
rack of the guys past in the past was rock
Wow.
solid.
Hmm.
Yeah,
If you can nap with double 32s, most definitely. Good technique. Wow. All right. Yeah.
So it was Mikhail, and then actually the reason why I really get into the kettlebell sport was Eduardo Karmenko, and he's actually just a little bit older than me. He was 1980, but he achieved the success in kettlebell sport much sooner. So by the time I met him, which was 2001, he was already a world champion, and he was just a really superior athlete. Like his best was 95 reps of long cycle and
Wow.
about 150 plus jerks, maybe 155 and 200 plus snatches. I mean, champ numbers, and he was a champ. So so Mikhail, Eduard, and later myself, and that's all. And I don't even know who was a coach of Mikhail, and it was a long time ago. And then, Eduard I've met 2001, and actually that was a huge, um, uh, event in my sport career because that was a jaw-dropping experience, showing him like performing this perfect 200 jerks with 24s, nailing them completely. It was the very first time I saw professional kettlebell lifter, and I said, okay, well, that's how it looks. And that's the first time when it's like I really start to feel something about it, that I really feel some charm in it, and I really feel like it's really awesome. And I start looking for his coach, who's his coach, start to, look for information where he work out. And so I found his coach, Timofey, and basically like drop on my knees and, said that, just please take me as a student. I really wants to be good at it. And by the time I was a CMS, but I definitely saw lots of issues with my technique and have no ideas of a programming. And again, it just was some like kind of like adaptation also of weightlifting, kind of 3 sets of 10 or 15, something like this. Timofey took me, and that was from 2001 till 2005. We were working together, and we get to master of sport together in all three lifts. For jerk and snatch were together always. There was no separate ranks for jerk and snatch back then, just a biathlon.
It's a biathlon.
So I get actually my first MS was in biathlon in 2004, and then a few months later I get my MS in long cycle also with about like 65 reps. So that was a Kaliningrad stage. So I get a MS, and victories wise, I was far away. Well, I get a second place in the junior Russian championship. That's all. That was the highest national achievement. Was no in international competitions yet. And then I moved to St. Pete. And in St. Pete I've met Sergey Rachinsky, and from that point story is known. That's where the victories start. This laboratory of champions. Was St. Petersburg. Was lots of great athletes, and just the whole spirit was Yeah, sometimes that's what it takes, you know. I was the same guy, but I wasn't winning in Kaliningrad. And then, you know, in St. Pete, it's just, you know, radiates on you, you know,
Hmm.
this like, I basically in the room, it was like, you know, maybe seven guys, and I'm only not the world champion. And they're all looking at me like something wrong with me, you
Well,
know, guy, you're not the world champion. You
yes. What's
and you kind
going
of
on?
feel,
What
yeah,
are you
and you
doing
really kind
here?
of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
makes you feel like embarrassed. Oh, really? I'm not a world champion. I mean, the bar was set so high and
Yes.
so like casually that you would definitely think
Cat.
it's an absolutely normal thing, and normal
I
people,
like
that's what
that.
they
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah,
you
that's
kind of like,
normal. Yeah, being a
and you
world
so be,
champion is normal. Like, wow.
yeah, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
so behind. And I actually I heard that well, here we go, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, for bodybuilding, he moved from Austria to United States because that's where the champions was made, and it's
Mm-hmm.
often that's what it takes. You know, when you want to
Mm.
achieve the great results, it's not only you working hard, but you also working with the best.
Wow, that's a good
And
one.
it's not a cheating at all. You know, you think, oh, I will do everything on my own, you know, raw way. No, it's you might just run out of time figuring it out. And why you'll be do figuring if someone already did it before, and you can just get straight into, you know, effective routine, and plus, you know,
Mm-hmm.
experience of victories and all. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, you name it. I don't know if it's a boxing or it's a wrestling. So, you know, ideally, you know, what's happening is, yeah, if kid showing talent, so they send him to a proper team,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes a lot. You know, it's like you're giving up on your town and you kind of betting on it. But well, that's how it
Mm-hmm.
worked, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's I think that's what makes make the difference. You know, me moving to St. Pete to this mecca of a kettlebell sport, because well, St. Petersburg team was yeah, was crushing back then. There was a champions of Russia, and like most of the a big part of a national team was St. Petersburg guys. So was a really strong athletes, and traditions and spirit was really high.
Mm. Mm-hmm. So that's always part, right? When you have this concentration of not just champions, but also of a great trainer, of great coaches, and they all bounce off of each other, and you get that vibe of wow, bro, I'm the only one in this room who's not a champion yet. Whoa, so I got to pick it up. So do you think it's probably both, but I'm just asking about was it Rashinsky's coaching, or was it the environment, or was it both altogether? Which one do you think plays the most part of of your
Uh,
success when you
well,
went to St.
Sergey, it's
Petersburg?
you see, it's when it comes to coaching, it's a topic of coach-student relationship, and it's like it's like believing in God, you know. And well, what I mean by that is, you know, when it comes to competitions, when you're finally there, the responsibility and fear and emotions and or adrenaline rush, it's so high that you um, it's very easy to have doubts, and it's the worst, and you can't do that, you know. Once you have doubts, you're done. So you need to have a very strong spirit, and you need to believe in something. It's something, your motivation should be unbreakable, you know. You That's why many athletes superstitious, you know, like absolute, like some make no sense stuff. Uh, but many athletes religious because well, you just need to believe in something, you know, something that saves you on this platform, and that your angel, you know, or something. And coach, uh, you know, that's the best scenario when you believe in your coach so much. You know, if you doubt your coach, that you know that's what you'll be thinking about on the platform. You will be doubting his programming, his advices, you know, when you and it's a wrong thoughts, you know. You don't want
Hmm.
to end up with the thought that you know better on the platform. That's it. You don't want to stay with you know, alone with yourself on this platform. You need someone like uh, concrete, you know, unbreakable, you know, authority, and that's what that Sergey was for me. You know, he was like well, when I moved to St. Pete, I wasn't even dreaming that he would be my coach. It was like, it was another mission to win his will to coach me. It's not like this, oh, Denis, he wants to be my coach. Oh, sure, yeah, of course, no, it's yeah, Sergey, he wasn't doing much of a like a coaching, and well, that wasn't yeah, it's in Russia, it's a little bit different, coach, well, especially a good coach, he's taking only students that have uh, have talent and have, possible I would say opportunity to become a champion. They kind of don't wasting their times on
Yeah.
everyone,
Yeah.
and
Of
hoping.
course.
No,
Yeah.
they're very, very selective. It's a
Hmm.
complete opposite story, that they, turn around like many athletes who request and only few, can get there. So yeah, it took me uh, to win the St. Petersburg championship with a MSIC result before I get Sergey's attention, and I got help. And I still get of Arkady Semyonov, and he was a good friend of Eduard Akramenko, and Eduard said word for me, and Arkady was very, welcome and helpful, like such a humble gentleman, and even outstanding athlete and a coach. And yeah, he guided me this, few first months in St. Pete, and we just crushed it. Well, to be fair to say, like, I just need to insert that I had a 2 years break from kettlebell sport from 2005 to 2007. It just my last year in Kaliningrad when I get this MS is just because I guess technique wasn't quite there, like rec wasn't stable. Um, I'm not the guy who's putting the belts down, but it was such a big, challenge and pressure because it was just a really painful experience. Was no rest at the top, was no rest at the bottom. It just was all character and muscle. It was really mental, and I was pretty exhausted. And when I get my MS license, I thought that okay, I'm moving to other city. I said I'm done with this kettlebell sport. That's it. It's a uh, permanent title. Good enough. Let's try something else. And I just for 2 years was in. Well, that's how when I started my career as a personal trainer, and I was just refining, traditional methodologies of Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilding and Metzner's methodology. So I just was 2 years was doing that, and I get pretty bulky. I get to maybe 95 kilogram body weight and like 200 squats, 200 kilograms deadlift, one rep max,
Nice.
150 bench press. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, some solid
was
numbers.
strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and but then 1 year passed. Yeah, I was really fun, but then it's kind of start to get a little bit boring. Really, this bodybuilding routine, kind of walking from one machine to another. I kind of start missing this whole competitions environment of a kettlebell sport, and the thoughts start to come to me more and more often that maybe I should go back because I was halfway to MSIC. Like the time I left Kaliningrad, I was in low 70s and long cycle. So I thought maybe I should just go back and just get this MSIC done. And then yeah, as far as it goes, it's more and more thoughts I have about it. And yeah, by 2007, okay, I said, okay, let's do it. I need to go back, and I found Arkady. So I was I wasn't touching bells for 2 years completely, but I just was really strong, and 32s feel really light, after that,
Hmm.
like after barbell. So yeah, it definitely doesn't feel heavy, and I reset my mind. I was really fresh and hungry, and plus all this like champ environment. So it went great. I thought it will take me, I don't know, I was guessing maybe a year to get back my MS numbers,
Hmm.
and then who knows how long to MSIC. But what happened is just in 2 months of preparation, I get 83 reps of long cycle. MSIC won it like from nowhere. Was like everyone just was shocked, like who's this guy? Well, and then
Out of
and then
nowhere.
Sergey
Yeah.
also say, okay, let's do it.
You got my
Let's
attention. Yeah,
see.
let's go.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah. But you
powerful.
see, it's
Yeah.
like I'm with, I don't mean any, how say, offense or disrespect to Sergey saying that he didn't really want to take me first, because I really see, that it's different types of coaches, and each of this type takes a huge talent and very necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
some coaches, they just are great starter coaches,
Mm-hmm.
because it takes patience, to start someone from scratch and make an athlete
Mm-hmm.
from him. But then once you make athlete from him, and I mean maybe like a mess level, then it's completely different challenge to make from a mess the world champion. That's
Exactly.
a certain
Yeah.
spirit. And then,
Yeah.
well, and then, when it comes to like coach job, so, some people, they're really enjoying, this like alphabet, and, the tricks, how to explain the insertion and reg, like basic stuff, how to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And some just really bored with that and they can't stand it, but they wants to, like,
They
they
can't
Ferrari
stand it.
drivers, they cannot drive Beetles, they just need Ferrari, and that's
Exactly.
where this guy
Yeah.
give him a mess, give him guy who's like strong but kind of like not quite tuned up yet, and
Mm-hmm.
it looks like Sergey, this type of coach where he's
Mm-hmm.
like outstanding champion himself, and he kind of like maybe bit bored to work with the
Mm-hmm.
average, guys, but you give him a potential champion and he like doing something that he was dreaming to do himself, but maybe not quite get there. And he just, delivering this like amazing, like absolutely like above any other, you know, out of the box, out of the standard like ideas, of like outstanding result. That was his coaching about. Just we start coaching, it was right away we're going for the world championship, like from the very first
Bam, from the
workout.
get-go.
That's
Let's
it. Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that type of
yeah.
mentality. But isn't it? At the same time, or that's the idea of coaching, isn't it? So you had that one guy who specializes in helping beginners or helping you get a foothold in that particular sport, and once you become technically adept and you become even maybe champion material, this guy then says, all right, listen, now it's time for you to work with this guy because he only takes champion material. Don't walk up to this guy asking questions about the rack position. This is all about now getting to the next level, right? And so that's the different type of coaching mentality that I think makes a coach even better in his or her sense, where I say I specialize in helping beginners and the other guy specializes in making champions.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was yeah, hell of a ride. Yeah, I would say it was amazing, amazing experience. Yeah, we it took him a couple months to figure me out. He was looking in the eye a lot, and he's never was writing programs. It was always like we met, and he's saying what we do next, what we do today. Like I
Uh-huh.
often, like workout is coming, and I'm looking for Sergey to ask what's today, and like my heartbeat starts pounding because okay, what he will give me today. Yeah, he was so great, and he was such a genius psychologist. He was reading people like through.
Wow. So
Uh,
was he that type of coach where you walk up and he said, "All right, listen, this is what we're gonna do," and then you did it, and then the next workout is like, "All right, listen, this is what we're gonna do." So programmed in his mind, was he rather like on the spot? Let's do it on the spot. Let's see what you like, or did he have a long format program in mind that he shared with you?
well, I'm sure. Well, he knew the competition date,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
By which time we should be ready, and then he also had, I'm sure, marks of, when certain tests should be done, like 7 minute set, about a couple of weeks before, and like certain workouts. But then the rest it was just improvising, and even more than that, what he was doing often, and he was just having fun with it. Uh, let's say we're going for 7 minutes and he telling me we're going pace 10, right? But he having always a notebook and a pencil. And later I find out what he was doing, but he was writing like he was trying to predict exactly how many reps each minute will I do. He's saying 10, but he said no, he probably will do 3 tenths and then he'll drop to 9. and then he will go back to 10, and last minute he probably will do 13.
Wow.
And in total, he will end up with like 72 reps. And he
Wow.
was having fun betting, on like how many reps
If he's
exactly
on the
will I
spot,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, and then he was showing me this paper, after the set. And it's often was matching. Yeah, it was very cool. Like
Hmm.
he knew, where what kind of bumps I will have, on the road, doing it.
It's probably because do you think that's because he knew you very well, or because probably both, right? He knew you as an athlete where you were going, and he also uh, observed you during the set. Do you think it's both these things, right?
Oh yeah. Because he was my employer. He was my boss. Also the best boss. In the fitness industry, because again, how it started. Like I found Arkady, and Arkady was a personal trainer in the gym where Sergey was a manager. And I talked to Sergey, and Sergey said, "Well," he said, get a job first here in my place, And so he basically assigned me to what this position will be called, the gym supervisor, probably, right? It was a big fitness center where it was like a gym and group classes and games, and also, and I was looking for a job as a personal trainer in the gym. So he said, just get get qualified, whatever tests should be done, to get a job. So you'll be around. Uh, and then we'll see what happens, because he's working there. And also beside him, the director of the gym was Valery Litvinko, who's another world champion from kettlebell sport. And so Sergey Kirillov was around. He's now the Russian Federation president of kettlebell sport. So he was coming often for workouts, and then like Ivan Denisov, once in a while was stopping by, and then Igor Morozov, all the stars, So it was, pretty amazing. So, so I started working as a personal trainer, and then I became a gym supervisor, and then later Sergey opened his own gym, and he invited me as a manager, and then, no, he was invited. First, he was invited to lead one of the gyms, and he invited me as a manager. And then later, he opened his own gym, and he invited me as a um, how to call it, a deputy, a vice, president. And then it was, so basically he was leading me through the fitness career as well, and I learned a lot from him. So we were spending a lot of time together, and was putting these gyms together, was like some projects, okay, gym working from 7 a.m. till midnight. So only the time if he wants to do something in the gym, that's somewhere between midnight and 7 a.m. So we meet at 1 a.m. Doing a rec for kettlebells, or a rec for boxing bags, So we're spending lots of time together. Speaking of knowing each other, so he knew me as a person, and we were
Mhm.
going to some like a local competitions together in the trains or in the cars, long road trips. So
Oh, a
he knew
very
me.
tight relationship then. Oh,
He
all right.
knew me pretty well, and plus, of course, all of the workouts was guided by him, and again, you see, it was um, I really wanted to succeed, and I really know that I need him, so I haven't any pride, of
Mhm.
like asking or even begging, because I just wanted the result. So that's why my schedule was like this, asking Sergey when you'll be in the gym. So I wanted to do a workout, because I know he's a busy man. He's running lots of errands, and so when you'll be in the gym, it's like 6 a.m., it's midnight, it's whenever, tell me when you have a moment to take a look on my set, so that's when my workout will be, which day of the week. And
Oh,
then he's there, so I'm making sure. He said I will have 20 minutes, from like 5:15 to 5:35. So I'm calculating when I should start my warm-up, so I'll be ready to start my set like 5:15 exactly, so he'll be able to count my set and take a look, and like every single workout like this. And he wasn't mean to me, like he wasn't really, like, you know um, um, how to say, well, having fun of me like this, throwing some crazy times. No, he was like, honestly, he was doing his best to,
Mm-hmm.
even like maybe work out with me. Yeah, but again, at this point, he was already retired from kettlebell sports, so his workouts, wasn't like a number one priority. And he's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
he start his warm up, and then something came up, business wise, and he just, he's gone.
Left or yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but for me, that's the first thing.
It's dedication.
So
Mm-hmm.
I really was, I was looking, asking him when he will be in the gym, and then I was just asking him, what's the
Mm-hmm.
workout,
Mm-hmm.
and he was taking this workout from his head, but I was writing down everything, every single thing,
Wow. All right.
and
So
that's
he
how
wow.
I.
Uh-huh. So you adapted your training schedule to Sergey's schedule. So if that's 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 12 a.m., well, that's when you are here, I'll be warmed up, ready to go, even if you have only 15 minutes. That's dedication.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think
Because I
yeah,
really feel like I need to do set with him.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
the workout was so tough that I really want him to take a part of it. You're the one who wrote it down, so let's do it
Let's
together.
go.
That was this
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, its workout was a fight. Yeah. Well, I mean, it just was a really ambitious, goals, like very
Mm-hmm.
serious pace and like short
Mm-hmm.
rest intervals.
But that explains. I'm gonna have to close the window real quick. But that explains, Dennis, the. It just explains your your mindset, your dedication, your willingness to take it to the next level, and I think that's one of those important qualities of becoming a champion, or not even just a champion, just in any field, making it to a spot where almost nobody goes or nobody reaches that type of level. I mean, who's there said, right? Hey, my boss is not around, my coach is not around, so the coach shows up at 7 a.m. Well, bro, I plan my workout at 5 a.m., right? But in your case, it's like, hey, whenever you are here, I'll be right here. So that's that type of dedication that is not found very often. Whereas, right, because it takes a lot of things away from your. It's not that comfortable. It takes you outside your comfort zone. You have to be ready when he's ready. But you wanted it so bad. You were so dedicated. So you were ready to
Yeah, it's also
put in the
number one
work.
priority, and number
Yeah.
one priority, I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing is more important than that. And it was,
Yeah.
maybe a bit hard, on people around me, but it just was,
It is what it is.
whatever
Mm-hmm.
whatever Sergey will tell me to do, because
Mm-hmm.
we're going, somewhere with it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be ready. We need to win, and whatever it takes, I was doing like well, and I was scared a lot, and the responsibility was really high, and only the way for me to handle it is was to just trust Sergey completely and do exactly and
Mm-hmm. Oh,
everything what
that's
he's
good.
asking for me,
That's
because I
good.
thought that if I will fail, he will be the one to blame, because I will do exactly this everything what he told me and all of it. So there will be no complaints about me, like right, because if he asks something and I haven't done it, that's it, that's the moment when he can poke and say, you will lose because you skipped this workout, or I ask you to do that and you did something different. Even just a one accident will be enough for this argument. And I never ever gave him such opportunity. I was never ever said no or complained. I
Wow.
was kind of joking, but was kind of serious that if I will die on the platform, you will be the one to explaining my mom why it's happened. But I will do it. You say pace
You are-
11, I will go 11.
that
Whatever.
wow, that's the dedication. That's explains why you're there where you are. That's that
Uh,
type of dedication
but
that's
it but
very
it
inspiring.
works. You
And it
see,
works. You're
you see,
trusting the process, right? You're trusting the
yeah,
coach, you're trusting the
yeah.
process.
So you see,
Mm.
it's of course, he was outstanding champion and coach. You don't want to trust completely someone who's not competent, right? Because they just kill you or something. But
Most
I just
definitely.
was lucky enough to put myself into hands of an outstanding professional, and he was really know what he's doing. or at least, have some idea, because it definitely was a pioneering, where was breaking the records for sure. We hit 100 reps. I was a short man in the history of a kettlebell sport who broke 100 reps record, but the lightest ones. Two guys before me was Vasily Genko and Ivan Denisov. And these guys 120 kilograms
Yeah.
body weight, and I'm 85.
Heavyweights. Yeah.
Yeah, and Vasily, he had 105, but very, very first one, like way before Ivan. I think Vasily did his 105 early 2000s. Well, and then Ivan break it hard with the 116. And the funny thing is that, who knew, when Ivan retired, like which record will stand the longest, because all of them seems impossible, like 176 jerks and I think 220 snatches and 116 long cycles.
Just for people to understand, so these types of records is 116 reps with 232 kg kettlebells for 10 minutes in the long cycle. So that's clean and jerk. 220 reps with a 32 kg snatch, 10 minutes with one arm switch. And what? 170 jerk or 76 with double 32.
Yeah.
Double 32s again, 10 minutes, you can't drop the bell. So if it's sometimes it's for somebody who hears these numbers, it's not easy to understand if you haven't experienced it, what kind of feat of strength endurance, and mental tenacity that really is. It's just outstanding.
It even looks like he was more like in biathlon, but his biathlon records fall, well, not immediately, but very shortly. Like Ivan Markov, he's like on the next level now. He break 180 reps barrier now of jerks, and his snatches. Kichimaev, he did 250 snatches with 32. I mean,
in 10 minutes?
I think, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it wasn't like official result, but Markov, he's doing, I think, 231. But no one even close to his 116 long cycle, like not in even horizon yet. It's Balabanov and Kulakov. That's the two guys who's scoring 100 plus now, but barely plus. Like I think Kulakov's best 104 and Balabanov's is 102. And it's not near to 116. I mean, the 116 you go pace 12, and have like few 11s. So the guy's still on pace 10, and there is no one even going 11 reps a minute. No one even close to 110. So I mean, it's
so fast.
It's outstanding that it's. Yeah, 2011 he did this result, and we're in 2025, 14 years later. No one even close. Yeah. They 20%, like the best guys, it's only two of them in the world now, and they still 20% behind.
Away from the record.
Yeah, that's how outstanding
how
long
crazy
cycle
it is. Yeah.
Result of Ivan is. And I get 101. I get 102, but it's just the judge, and he was like apologizing so hard, and it's basically he pressed the button but it didn't click on the timer. So timer shows 101, but it was no issues with the rep at all. It was legit 102 reps, all of the reps counted, no questions. But then there's cameras and pictures and all, and it's 101 on the timer, and what I'll be explaining to every single picture that it was 102. So
it was 102. Yeah, but still that one rep, it's just like when I did. Sorry to interrupt. It's just when I did my set and I stumbled. The first rep and I stumbled because I was so nervous. So I lose my balance at rep number 1. That's why it was for my CMS set. For my 32 kg set with 5 minute snatch was 84 instead of 85. So that's really annoying, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but wow, I wasn't late. Everything was on time. It was by the book. Perfect set.
Massive.
9 10s and 12 reps last minute. So, but officially 101 rep. So it was 2015. So I was a third guy in the world who break this 3-digit result. long cycle was 84 kilograms body weight, like 85 kilogram weight class. So I was like 84 something.
How heavy
And
was what was his name who cracked the 116 long
Ivan
cycle?
Denisov.
Denisov.
Well,
All right, all right. So
well,
he's
he
a
was
heavyweight,
back
right?
then. He was actually, for his weight, he was pretty light back then.
Oh.
2011, he was 105 ish,
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, I think he was 120 kind of on average. And
Mm-hmm.
I actually remember him saying that he felt the best in this weight. Like it's, because he
Mm-hmm.
was like, not too heavy, but, because of that, fast enough and endure enough. So, it's speaking of a golden, perfect weight for a particular
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
That's like for myself, I know that 85, that's why I'm the best. I can be 80, I can be 90, but it's kind of not natural. 90, yeah, I feel strong, but I'm too much water, too slow. 180. I mean, when I'm 80, it's just too light. Endure, yeah, but just wind blows, and I moves, feel weak. But
I rem
85, that's the
that's
best for
it's
me.
powerful. I remember when I had the last conversation that I had was with Alexander Khvostov, and Alex told me that he was going into all these different weight categories, hitting these crazy numbers. So and then at one point he lost like 10 or 15 kilograms to break it down to a weight category which was way below his normal, right? And so that's an impressive feat as well, right? I mean, it was a great conversation with Khvostov. I that
Well, Alex, yeah, he's he's
his
outstanding
snatches.
athlete.
I
He's a
love
fighter.
that's great. And he talked about, and I asked him the question. I said, "Who do you think is one of the best athletes ever?" And he said, "Well, it's easy, Johnny." So, Johnny Benitez. Yeah, of course. And we talked about that relay video that you put on your YouTube channel that you had. You have it on your channel. I think it's a jerk. I don't know what it was, long cycle or jerk, relay the Russian team, or I think it was a battle between countries. And I can't remember if it was the jerk or a long cycle. So Johnny's in there, Alexander Khvostov is in there, but you're not in there. So I just wanted to ask you, or maybe, no, I wasn't missing you. Do you remember that? You have it on your channel, that relay.
Oh yeah. That's Ireland. IUKL either world champion or European championship. I need to double check. I remember that. That was also what's the athlete of the wait last name Konstantin forgot his last name. Yeah, it was a biathlon relay, for sure. Yeah. Well, I feel it because it just was outstanding relay. It was fun to watch. But I'm a long cycle. Well, yeah, I'm a long cycle guy. I catch up with
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
biathlon, the
mm-hmm.
best I can, later on. But well, I never achieved any world record results in biathlon. It was a decent and solid. I've got to MSIC. Strekalovsky, that's how Konstantin Strekalovsky. He was the challenger of Ivan Denisov. Actually, was a young guy, jerk from a god. That's only the way to put it. Like his jerk was like from the martyr, like from a gun. Like it was outstanding. He was going like for yeah, he got 160 plus, maybe 165, but I know it just yeah, he died of cancer like
Mm.
in his 20s.
Oh no.
Was an absolute tragedy. Yeah, it's well, I mean, I think it's just a genes. I mean, he was like actually kind of from farmer's family,
Mm-hmm.
taking care of the cattle and on the fresh air, organic foods, no bad habits, anything like that, like a really healthy, well, I mean, as far as you can see, a champion, but it just, something how you can, predict that.
Oh,
So it was a
yeah.
huge tragedy,
Mm.
but yeah, he was going for Iron. Yeah, he was really talented, and he was on this tape. Yeah, great jerks. Like they all was 20 reps plus a minute. This jerk really,
And
starting from Johnny and all the way up. Yeah.
it's crazy how they the other countries. I think you on that video the camera sways a little bit to the left, and then you see if I remember correctly, you just see the number from the next country next to it, and it's like they obliterated everybody. It's like, yo, what is everybody else doing here? We just might just sip a coffee and watch the Russians destroy everybody. And that's right. That's another thing, right? When you guys show up, when the Russians are on on the platform, you obliterate everybody. And it just goes to show how I mean, we can say kettlebell sport originated in Russia, right? Or in the eastern part of Europe with the Soviet Union and stuff. But what is it? Do you think it's, when you compare it, because you moved to the US afterwards, right? Can you give us a little bit of background, and then I have a couple of questions about kettlebell sport. But you moved to the US. What was the difference? What happened?
Well, motivation. It's all about motivation. You need to understand why you're doing this thing. And
Hmm.
in Russia, well, that's how priorities, works. It's a legitimate sport. It's in school program, college program, respected. Well, it's under sport ministry supervision. You got scholarships, well, you got paid now even. So, well, as simple as that. And that's
Hmm.
why selection is so broad, and basically, any teenager can't miss it. Everyone tried kettlebell sport, and that's how you found all these genius guys. And it's not about, the rest of the world missing a genius kettlebell lifters, because, well, you need, like, each sport required like
Yeah,
certain,
yeah, yeah.
personality, and you need to just find the best guy for a job. Uh, but in Russia, just motivation works the best. It makes sense to be a kettlebell lifter because you will get certain benefits, because, well, going through your life, you need to, like, pay your bills and live somewhere, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
well, it just in the West, in America, well, it just kettlebell sport cannot doesn't have that much of a support and an interest, and that's simply why.
Hmm.
It's for sure. Well, and you can see a singular fans. And I just commented yesterday on Eddie's post. Eddie, he's getting famous, celebrity from England. He's like, look at him. It's well, it's like we are, like, I'm in my 40s now, and it's kind of like, uh, you look on me now, and like 5 years before, 5 years after, it's roughly will be the same, right? If nothing horrible happens. But with kids, like, you can see the difference, like, every year for sure, maybe even few months, how he's growing, and like, here we go, he's lifting 32s already, right? So
Hmm.
he's like perfect technique and like genius guy. Well, I wishing him the best, don't want to jinx, but I think he's doing well, and so here we go, from the scratch, outstanding athlete. And then guys like Kim Fox or Quarterberry, uh, um, Beata from Norway, one of the first girl, on 30, on 24. So, I mean, there's singular outstanding athletes,
Hmm. Hmm.
all like
Hmm.
Matteo Amodio, he's the reason why I hit my 90 reps, because he got it first in Croatia in 2013. And I thought, okay, or I'm doing 90 or I'll be second. But motivation. And in States, well, I actually, like, my best example would be a student of mine, Antonio, and he came to me 12 years old, a bit of underweight, kind of worries that he's too light, shy, but never was talking much, but listening and doing. And
Hmm.
uh, again, it just was such amazing, experience seeing him turning into like, I mean, right now he's taller than me, he's heavier than me. He had this like a triangular back, try upside down, and he's pitching like 95 miles an hour, the ball, and he got a scholarship for baseball now. And he's like, coaches really, have huge expectations about him. And who knows, maybe soon I will get a free baseball tickets, because he's doing really well there. And he was great in kettlebell sport. We started with eights, I think, and well, we never did 10 minutes with 32s, but he did like 100 plus reps with 20s and like 80 reps with 24s. And I mean, he was like still like 14 years old, like young boy, great, but of course, kettlebell, well, and as far we go, it's more baseball was there, so it's, like, yeah, by 14 years old, that's it, it was
Mhm.
all baseball because coaches really saw him. He's really start to, perform, and this became a first priority because, well, here we go, he's what he will get if he will stay with me in kettlebell sport,
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, yeah.
But here he got especially in states, that's
Yeah,
education is,
and that's the
it's no
incentive, right?
joke.
Yeah. And you
Uh,
mentioned, I think you're mentioning this, you're describing exactly what I'm thinking about when you have something that gives you an incentive to outperform. And of course, you have that in Russia, where you know the kettlebell sport is actually a national sport, and then in other countries, there's no incentive to perform to such a level where you can actually then make it, to the Olympic team or whatever it is, right? So I get where you're coming from, most definitely. So if we can pivot this conversation a little bit, Dennis, into kettlebell sport in general, because before we started recording, I mentioned that somebody, I don't know where he asked it, but that's irrelevant. For beginners of kettlebell sport, it is sometimes a little bit tricky to understand the whereabouts, the environment, the discipline, the biathlon, the triathlon, the exercises, the different weight categories, the different institutions. So, can you give us a little bit of a rundown from a beginner's perspective of what kettlebell sport really is?
um, well, it's actually, I would break it really into only four moves. It's a clean, it's a jerk. No, sorry, three. Yeah, it's a clean, it's a jerk, it's a snatch. Uh, that's all. And then, you put clean and jerk together, you'll get a long cycle. Well, you put a snatch. Actually, when you put all three of them together, that will be double half snatch. You snatch it to the top and then you
Yeah.
drop it as a long cycle. But I mean, yeah, like once you figure out these three moves, how to clean bells into the rack, how to jerk them from the rack to the top, and how to snatch it, that's it. Then you can play with it, and you can do combinations. You can do one bell, you can do two bells, and you can, if you want, you can do all of them at once, and that's how you'll get a triathlon, right? When you do long cycle and jerk and snatch, or you can do them one at a time, but it's just these three moves. So it's actually quite straightforward, when it comes to actual lifting. If you will compare to, let's say, a hard style where, well, it's a certain number of famous exercises, but it's also endless opportunities for you to, to create variations and just, do some whatever, you want to do with this kettlebell. But yeah, it's only three of them, but quite complicated, right? It's a multiple phases, even to make a clean. So you need to swing it properly, back and forward, and it's a certain way you get it into the chest. There's like a counterbalance and accelerating pull, and certain way we insert the hand so forearms will not be overused, right? You cannot just keep grabbing handle and get it to the top, right? Your wrist will get bent out, and the handle will be rubbing your skin, etc. So it's like lots of fine details. So technique is very, very specific. Or, well, you can call it a complicated when you're trying it the very first time, but uh, then you just repeat it over and over and over again, and that's how it just gets sharp and sound, and that's when you start having fun. But it's a bit hard of a sale, that's for sure. And it's interesting, because again, in the West, the way for kettlebell lifters to survive is to well, do fitness coaching, to get masses, to just um, be able to make a living, and professional athletes, anyways, it's a very small fracture of people who's working out, and you cannot rely on that. Well, and often talented guys, they cannot afford the workouts like myself. When you're young and strong, well, you usually don't have a job, and then all you do is working out, right? And if you're a gym owner, even you really want, to spend time with this guy, you like rent is coming, on first, and it just and it like all kind of bills, so you just needs to get it done. So that's why uh, trying to well, that's I think actually the reason why kettlebell sport is actually explode, and it gets so exposed over the world, because it's actually pretty good fit into like the whole like fitness
Yeah.
routine, because it's you
Yeah.
can use this sport methods for people who not even planning to do world
Yeah.
championships, and you just give them a lighter
100%.
bells,
Yeah.
and it's just like very fun
Yeah.
training routine. You kind of like playing the game of it, but it's the whole life is a game. So you have a proper, like a professional training cycle periods, of like a 12 weeks, and you're building up and you're getting ready for something, you're accomplishing the mission. It's very, educational and self-discipline. It's amazing. Well, not everyone likes it. Uh, but the ones who do, they just crazy about it. It's
Hmm.
almost like a cult,
Hmm.
It just
Yeah.
people
Well,
like it
that's
so
kettlebell.
much.
That's what
Yeah,
kettlebells are,
uh,
most definitely.
yeah, and
But
then
if
it's
I may,
possibility for you. Yeah,
if
go
I may
ahead.
ask, Dennis, so we have these three disciplines just for beginners to get a true understanding. So we have these disciplines, right? We have the long cycle, which is the clean and jerk. We have the snatch, and then you can single out the jerk as a discipline as well. So it's these three. Then explain a little bit the 5 minute set, the 10 minute sets, the weight categories, the biathlon, the triathlon from a minute and set perspective. How
Okay.
and then the different institutions as well, right? I mean, I was so happy that I was able to perform under, IKFF, of course, that's my mentor, my sensei, Steve Carter, but I was so happy that it was sanctioned by the IKO, which is run by you, right? But then we have the IKMF, and then we have other institutions. So if you can give us a little bit of a rundown on that front.
Yeah, yeah. So main reason why technique, kettlebell sport technique was so refined is this competition standards. So first big difference, let's say with a hard style snatch, is that in kettlebell sport you cannot put it down, and you can switch hand only once. So that's right away a problem. What's happened with my hand, with the skin on my hand and with my muscles, like forearms. You need to be smart about it and efficient, and that's why all this smooth adjustments to trajectory happens, right? So if you do kettlebell sports, so what you're going for is, well, it's 10 minutes really. 5, it's kind of like, we can say it's latest adjustments to cheer up the beginners a little bit and let him taste, the flavor of kettlebell sport. But we're really all heading towards 10 minutes. So you either do a long cycle or jerk or snatch. So your goal is to handle 10 minutes non-stop, never put the bell down. And if you do snatch, you switch hand only once, but though doesn't matter when. So, well, classic would be halfway, 5 minutes right, 5 minutes left, but you don't need to switch it on the beep. You like, if your right hand stronger, you can go 6 minutes on your right and then finish it up with the left 4 and variations of that.
And a little
And
question
then,
right here, Dennis. From the snatch, sorry to interject, please keep your thought, but it's such a good question at this point. Would you then recommend for somebody who starts with the snatch, because, hey, you can switch hands, doesn't matter when, would you recommend start with your strong side first, or would you say start with your weaker side first?
for competition, at least the way I do it is I start with my strong arm. I think
Interesting.
this way you get the most reps. When we're going for like reps for absolute, best performance, to extract as many reps as possible from the set. I think when you start with your strong, well, because it's a strong, you're cruising on a decent pace,
Mm-hmm.
brave strategy, and then well, you can go over 5 minutes as long as you're not slowing down, right? To not rub yourself with the reps. So let's say you did a strong 6 minutes with your right, and then when you have only 4 minutes on your left, which is a weak arm, because it's only 4 minutes left, you will feel comfortable and
Cruising.
confident to push it with as strong of a pace. Right? So that's how you get a really strong numbers. Because if you'll start with your weak arm, because it's a weak arm and you want to last ideally 5 minutes, you will be a bit careful. So you'll not really like risking and go your maximum pace because you don't want your grip to fail. So that's why, you'll make the time, but reps will be, not as great.
Oh, I like that.
And right,
Okay, so
so you're just
if I
missing
want to go
on
for
the
reps, yeah, so if I want to go for reps, I say go with strong first. If I just want to make the time, maybe hey, start with the weaker side first and then switch whenever you're ready. The brave strategy, like you said. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I get that.
yeah. And then jerk and long cycle. Well, the classic way would be to go with the two bells, because even like speaking of organizations, IKMF, they um, um, promote, well, we can call it alternative lifts when it's a one arm long cycle, and also different time frames, half marathons, but where kettlebell sports started, it's 10 minutes of double jerk and double long cycle, two bells. Well, and actually, jerk and snatch is the oldest kettlebell sport exercises. Well, the old, I think when kettlebells start to be used as an athletic tool, it was a juggling first. It was a circus, late of the 19th century ish. But then the kettlebell sport, the jerk and snatch, as far as I know, was like late 40s, early 50s, and Soviet military under the Olympic Weightlifting Federation supervision, and it also was a press, which is not exist exercise anymore. So it's a barbell press. It used to be a triathlon in Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah, exactly. Clean
Yeah,
and
and
jerk,
it used
snatch,
to be a
and clean and
yeah,
press. Yeah,
and it was a kettlebell triathlon with the same
with
jerk,
the
snatch, and
same.
press.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
when Olympic weightlifting canceled the press, kettlebell sport
They
federation
canceled it
canceled
too.
the press, and long
Interesting.
cycle was invented in early 90s. 91 I think was the first year when the long cycle was. So it's the youngest exercise. It's kind of became most popular one, but it's basically about 40 years younger than jerk and snatch. Jerk and snatch, like it's like, if it's let's say 50, so it's about 75 years old exercise, and long cycle it's about 35 years old exercise. And well, speaking of organizations, it's a few now, and they're heading to different goals. I think it's the right way to put it, because and originally, and right now it's two organizations. It's IUKL and the WKSF, International Union of Kettlebell Sport. It's it's not the oldest. IGSF will be the oldest organization, run by Sherbina. It's kind of headquarters in Ukraine, and Oleg Ilika used to be a vice president of that organization. And that's a very first international organization that started, like, I think, late 80s. But then it was some crack of leaders of this organization. So Russia left in the 80s, and so they joined with IUKL. It's Vasilis Ginko, from Latvia. And yeah, IUKL, from early 90s, I think they running, and it used to be, there was IUKL and IGSF kind of, competing kind of for same goal. And then I think it was 2017 when Oleg, he left IGSF and he started WKSF. And IGSF, I can't hear about them anymore. Oleg, he definitely was a powertrain of this organization, and he's outstanding person and athlete. I'm a big fan of Oleg, and I really think he's probably the best man for a job to lead a kettlebell sport. He's he have both, experience and knowledge. Because often you can see that guys who's running the organizations, well, they athletes, at most part, coaches, and it's, a little bit different kind of job, and Oleg, he was working for years, for decades, being a vice president of IGSF, so he's very familiar with all the paperwork and routine. So as far as that, kettlebell sport community goes, I think he's one of the most experienced leaders in leading, and running the especially non-profit organizations, because it's also a bit different, he's like all this like anti-doping associations, paperwork, TAFISA, like etc., all these regulations. And as far as I can see, he's doing really well. It's 2025 and WKSF, it's looking strong. Well, still, maybe top results. It's not quite, on the level of Russian lifters, but you cannot see 10 platforms with 32s, and like 10 platforms of girls with 24s, but it's not too far away. And right now, basically, that's a two organizations who's heading towards Olympics. They mark the goal to make it to Olympics,
to make
which
it
is
all that.
completely different topics,
Most
to
definitely.
talk about. But IUKL and IGSF both have a headquarters in Europe, and then we have IKMF that stands, on its own, and I think they took a spot that they're the
Stefan,
best
right?
in. Yeah, Stefan Dogman. So it's marathons,
Yeah.
30 minutes, 60 minutes events, and he's the one actually who introduced me double half snatch during pandemics. He called me, it was like when it was a lockdown, we all was sitting in our homes, and he was organizing these online battles. And he reached out and he
Awesome.
said, "Hey,
Yeah.
Denis, do you want to do this online battle of a double half snatch?" And I said, "Double half snatch? What's this?" And I even did some research. I called Mikhail Babushkin, the guy I told you about, who was doing this 400 jerks. I said, like, have you heard of it? And what I was able to collect, it's actually a long forgotten exercise. And when kettlebell sport was forming this triathlon, so was the debates actually about snatch, and original idea was to have a double snatch, because Olympic lifters they use two arms
Yes.
simultaneously.
Yes.
So the thought was that okay, it's just kettlebells, but it's two arms. But some smart man, luckily for all of us, probably talk them out into one hand snatch. But I mean, it was a trials for double snatch, and well, double half snatch is a really killer, because
Yeah, I love it.
there's
Such an awesome
there's no
exercise.
well, but you see, it's quite a trouble to go for 10 minutes with a double snatch. Double snatch, I mean, you snatch it up and snatch it down,
Yeah,
because
that's
only the phase where you can catch your breath is a top fixation, and it's not exactly a comfortable sport to rest,
not
especially
really.
if you were
After the
32.
snatch. Yeah, most
Yeah, but
definitely.
double half snatch, you see, when you drop into the rack, so you have a rack fixation, and that's really works. And I actually get really fond of a double half snatch. It's outstanding exercise. It's like a long cycle on steroids.
Yeah,
If long
most
cycle
definitely.
not painful enough, you're going for
Yeah,
double half
go
snatch.
ahead into the. I love it too. It's a
It,
powerful exercise. Use
it
it
improves your
every
grip,
week.
it improves your back. Yeah.
It's
So
awesome.
IKMF, doing this half marathons, double half snatch. They also do Valery's Fedorenko pentathlons, I believe.
Yes, the pentathlon.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
so it's even like some kettlebell press there, one I believe. So it's like more like a fun, like a just completely different view on using this kettlebell, like no classic events there.
Yeah, and that's
And
actually
then
funny, right? Because I looked at the IKMF and you don't see the classics. You only see
no,
these
they don't do it.
outliers, these different
Yeah.
exercises. That's interesting. So it's that one organization that just beginners or just people in general who are interested in kettlebell sport have to know the IKMF does not do the classic lifts.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
yours. I
Well,
mean, the IKO, right?
IKL not doing marathons either. WKSF doing them, and well, on one hand, I would say that probably they should have just give respect to IKMF and Stephanie and just let them handle it, and just run. But then Oleg is really in one arm lifts as well. Through his career, he was outstanding long cyclist. I'm not sure if he've done 90 reps, but he definitely was in high 80s in long cycle. Oleg, he was like really great long cyclist. But then, the way, well, we all choose, our way to retire, and kind of go through our life. And he switched to marathon events, and he's really good at it. So he's literally, doing marathons and half marathons. So he's an expert in it as well. And probably that's why he also decided to run this marathons and half marathons and WKSF. So that's kind of like a bit of a competition they're going.
All right. So you had you have the WKSF from Oleg also organizing these marathon events, like the IKMF from Stefan. I get it. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. But IKO, well, okay, and then different organization. Well,
let's talk a little bit about yours. I mean, this is
well, okay,
the best one, right? You started one, the IKO.
I just took a pause because, well, I said organizations, meaning several, and it's actually used to be just a one, and so the story goes that Vasily Ginko, I think he's one of the first who start really, teaching kettlebell sport internationally. And I think that's actually why the IUKL was formed originally with him. It was just a local organization of Vasily, and he was teaching, kettlebell sport in Europe, like early 2000s when no one did it at all.
Yeah.
First seminars, and then my coach, Sergey Rachinsky, he took it to the next level. Well, thanks to Alex Hasin from States. May he rest in peace. He's not with us anymore, but they put this dream team of coaches and called it ICSFA. If you remember, it was International Kettlebell Sport Fitness Association. And Alex Hasin was manager. Sergey Rachinsky was a president of it, and Sergey invited Sergey Rudnev, Sergey Merkulin, well, and then, was students of theirs. I was student of Sergey, and Igor Morozov and Alex Kvastov was a student of Sergey Rudnev. Arseny Zharnakov was a student of Sergey Rachinsky as well. Anton Anasenko was invited as well, Sergey Mishin. And 2010 ICSA certification was the one that blows the world away, with the level of scientific approach to kettlebell sport, theoretical classes, practical classes, psychology, mobility. So that's where the teaching was taken to completely different level. And we existed like this for a few years, but then crew split apart, and my coach left. I left with him, and we formed Ket Academy. So it was another educational organization, and with us also, Ivan Denisov joined with us, and Igor Morozov. Well, in fact, in ICSFA was only Sergey Rudnev and Hasin. Ksenia Dedukhina was joining us, and it was early 2010s, and that's when I started teaching internationally. And really just a couple of years in, maybe 2012, I realized that it's so many kettlebell ambassadors in the world, and people who's like really, into kettlebell sport, but fairly small and kind of like invisible, and under radar. And we need something, to be more visible, and that's how I get idea of clubs, organizations, and club competitions, because like there's a small event coming, but it's it's hard to notice it. And that's how we form WACS, the World Association of Kettlebell Clubs, where we start saying that, hey, we're just a big family, we maybe small events, but we're all together, we're all connected. And I start running a calendar of a club competitions, and the goal of this organization was just go parallel courses with the IUKL, not competing with it. IUKL was going for Olympics, best of the best. WACS was a clubs event, and it was for beginners, complete beginners, to just get them into kettlebell sport, and off-season fun for professionals,
Mm-hmm.
and which was myself back then, because like I was on duty in national team for long cycle, but it's only 3 events per year, and I need to do something else, to the rest of the year. And I want to compete, just to stay in shape. And I was doing biathlon, jerk and snatch, and also, like back then, IUKL they had only 32 kilogram, nothing else, and 24s for veterans. And on WKSF, we came up with idea that well, we should use also transition weights, 28s, 20s, 12s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's kind of was inspired from my training routine. I was doing like 10 minutes, on this weights, and it feels great. It's like it's challenging, but it's not as extreme as 32s. And
Mm-hmm.
so was alternative weights, and well, not specialization events. So if you're a biathlon lifter, you can do long cycle. If you're long cyclist, you can do biathlon. So that was the goal of the WACS. And then when I moved to States, 2017. Well, it's also kind of connection starts to losing a little with rest of the crew. Some misunderstandings happens, and well, that's how I start the IKO, International Kettlebell
Right.
Organization,
Mm-hmm.
and Kettlebell Sport World League. Uh, and well, I just continue, the theme, because well, it's was my original idea, and I was just continuing, doing it well the way I think it's right, from that point, from 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a international kettlebell organization. It stands for clubs and individuals, um, focused on well, just have well, as comfortable and as you know, fair and unbiased experience of kettlebell sport. But
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm promoting and teaching events. Well, I have you know uh, proper level of expertise. So that's why there is no marathons, half marathons, because I'm just not the guy there really.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
done some, but I'm not on this level. So IKO is well, in Kettlebell Sport World League is long cycle, double long cycle only, double jerk only, no one arms, one hand switch, snatch, but it's a 5 minutes and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, and double half snatch also, because well, I just told you a story that I get really fond of a double half snatch, and I during a training cycles was it I feel well, my best is 103 reps with double 28. I think it's a great exercise. So it's also in the competition program
Mm.
now.
And I
Yeah.
think it's one of the good things that you have the 5 minute set included, because it's great for people to segue into it. It's at least that's my experience when I saw that the IKFF held that competition under IKO rules, and I was a little bit on the fence, thought about competing a couple of maybe the months, no, weeks, max 2, 3 months ago, had the first thoughts. And then when I saw the opportunity, I said, you know what, a 5 minute set with a 32, I think that's manageable, right? And I was pretty happy. That's also, I wanted to make the professional league, so to speak, with the 32. And then you have these numbers, which for me seemed doable. And now I'm hooked on wanting to go to MS and MSIC, right? So it's that entry level, that 5 minute, like you mentioned. I mean, 10 minutes is the way to go, but the 5 minute set, it's a very great entry level for people who are just getting, not just getting started. I think I'm not just getting started. I'm already a little bit more advanced down the road, but I thought even for me, the 5 minutes is a better way to start if I choose the 32 for the snatch.
Well, that's how the programming goes in kettlebell sport. That you first learn the technique, and then you
Mm-hmm.
get your first minute done, and then you just gradually, increasing the lengths of your sets. And 5 minutes is the first milestone in your preparation for 10 even. And
Mm-hmm.
also like any training cycle I started, so my first test set is a 5 minutes. And then if I pass my five, well, then next will be in usually 2 weeks, 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Mm-hmm.
I pass seven, well, then I go for 10.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's all of the kettlebell lifters, even like 10-minute guys, they're all doing 5 minutes. So it's by all means a legit,
Great. Yeah, it's awesome.
legit
It's
performance and
awesome.
set, and it definitely gives you, well, yeah, you still cannot get away with bad technique in 5 minutes. It's long enough, for you to
Well,
understand,
especially
why
especially
you need a
the
rack
32,
fixation
right?
and top fixation. Yeah,
I mean,
especially with the heavy
the
bells.
doubles. I
Yes.
mean, the doubles. Yeah, yeah, the doubles is another, and that's another story. Long cycle and jerk. For me, at least, I think I put these on hold. I want to focus on the snatch first. But even with the 32, that heavyweight just it completely obliterates you if you, because I saw in the IKFF championship, I saw another guy who was heavier than me, and he was doing 30 reps with the snatch with the 32. So no rank. I think rank one is 45 or 40 something ish, and I was aiming for, initially I was aiming for rank three. I thought, you know what? I think I can hit that. And then I felt so good and my preparation was so good that I saw, all right, you know what? CMS, I think is 65, right? For my body weight, for my class with 32, I'm 71, so I'm in the 74 kg weight category. And I thought, you know what? That's doable. And then in the set, I actually busted out 84. 85 with that with that first rep that really annoyed me, but I was really happy. And funny, and I have to ask you too, it's a little bit for my ego, but I asked Alexander Khvostov, I said, hey, what do you think, 84 reps in 5 minutes? And he said, well, that's solid result. And what do you think, Dennis, hearing it for the legend?
Well, it's a 17 reps a minute ish, right? It's a good pace.
I
Well, I would
appreciate that.
say, for long cycle, 6 it's a minimum necessary pace, and 8 considered like a good pace for long cycle. 80 reps, that's a legit number. And then for jerks, well, 100 reps, I feel like it's
So LC, you would say,
quite a minimum.
just a long cycle, you would say 6 is required. Let's put it like this.
Yeah.
And 8 is a good pace, 8
Yeah.
RPM.
Yeah.
And if you would use the same standard for the snatch, how would you say from that perspective, RPM?
Well, 12 required.
12
And 15
required?
and 15 is solid.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm happy. Well,
Yeah.
I did at the end, I just did a sprint. I think I did my final minute, I did like 23 reps.
Uh-huh.
I really busted out. I went balls to the walls.
So you probably was about like 15, 16 reps a minute through most of the set, and
approximately,
then
yes. And then at the
good.
end, that was my strategy, because Steve told me this. He said, you know what? Start with your light hand first. He gave me a different recommendation than you, but it's interesting. He said, start with the light hand first, at the weak hand, the weak side first, and then at the end, you can bust out some more reps if you need more with the stronger side. And that's exactly what I do. And now, and funny, and we have to talk a little bit about programming if I still can steal some of your time, Dennis. And Alexander, he said, because I told him, I shared him my set. I said it's 85 reps or 84. And now I want to go to Master of Sport, which according to the IKO, your organization, in my body weight class is 107 reps. And then MSIC, I think, is 139 in my body weight class. And I want to get both. I'm really hooked
That's already
on it.
the first step to success, that you know your numbers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For
I
me,
know them.
for me, it's
I wrote them
it's
down. Yeah.
yeah, it's 83 to 17. That was lucky numbers. That's MSIC for long cycle. 83 in my weight class and 217 in biathlon. I'm sleeping and dreaming about this now. Well, I've hit them already, but yeah, the first thing you should know your numbers.
Know your
When
numbers,
athlete,
yeah.
said that he want BMS, but he have no idea what. Come
No,
on, man.
you gotta know, because
You need to.
I was so happy because when I hit the 85 reps, I was like, wow, I am actually, can I count? I'm 22 reps away from MS. Good stuff. And I did it in 5 minutes. Of course, I was going balls to the walls, but I actually could say, wow, now you have 5 minutes left to do 22 reps.
Exactly.
Of course, I was going way too fast. But with that in mind, I thought, okay, it is manageable. It is in reach. And then, of course, once I saw the MS level and I was so happy with my result, I looked at the MSIC and I was like, oh, I think that's doable too. And I think I want to be the first. I think there is somebody in Switzerland who got a Master of Sport with the long cycle. He's in the French part of Switzerland, and I forgot his name, but I asked.
Is it the Grigori? No. I mean Grigori to pronounce Sakwet. Let me just double check on his last name. But go ahead.
Because I saw this one guy, and I have contact with I forget her, Andrea. Andrea, she is doing the kettlebell lifting in Switzerland, and I talked to her. I said, you know what, would be interesting if we could maybe set something up between Switzerland, Germany, and Austria, some kind of because it's the DACH region, right? Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and maybe do some kind of a competition, maybe down the line in 2025. That's another question that I want to ask you as well, but you can answer me this via email because I'm interested in joining the IKO as a club, as our business, as the gym, like Leberstock that we have, right? So I would be very interested to be.
That's the goal of the IKO, to actually help for individual athletes or for clubs to make their first step. See,
Awesome.
that's the things that that's
awesome.
I'm all into it. There is no fear of failing because there is no such thing as a failing. As long
Yes,
as
exactly.
you're trying, so first
Exactly.
competitions, sure, let's do it. Don't feel pressure, and there is no. Well, I think it's important, to let it takes a lot to make this first step, and it's already achievement, and that's why I think it's important to give clubs a bit of like a freedom, to choose the exercises they wants to use for their first competition, because they see the community around. Maybe it's not as big, and you of course cannot fill up all of the weight classes and all of the events, so you'll do it a bit smaller. Maybe you'll add some a bit out like maze competitions who know like Agatsu doing it, because they're people into it. So that's the way for them to bring attention to kettlebell sport.
Exactly.
It's maybe it will be mostly maze and a little bit of a kettlebells, but at least it's a start, and then as far as you go.
Exactly.
So yeah,
And that's
you're
what I
very
love about.
welcome, and
I appreciate that. That's what I love about you, and of course about Steve as well, my sensei, is the open-mindedness, the virtualness, being able to do it online, so people don't have to travel. I didn't have to travel to Los Angeles at least to become part of that competition that I wanted to be in the 2nd of November, which I'm so happy. And I'm so happy I got the diploma from Steve, the IKFF, and then I got yours as well. So, and we got them, we put them in a frame. I'm so happy about this, and it's actually this. It's another thing. It solidifies also my approach to kettlebells, because I've built the platform with kettlebells now, and I actually want to put some cement my status a little bit, put some weight behind my name and what I do, and say, hey, actually, I've competed. Of course, I know I'm too old to hit these types of numbers, and I don't have the heart to go there. I don't even want to go there. But at least I'm very hungry now to get to MS and MSIC. And Levi Marquardt from the States, of course, from the Republic, Athletics Republic, I think. He hit long cycle. Master of Sport. We had 2 great conversations on the podcast. I love it. He's awesome. The way he approaches kettlebells with the sport lifts to build muscle. Guy's a behemoth. Levi is awesome. And he actually put that bug in my ear. He was like, I was so happy I was able to get the long cycle Master of Sport on the Denis's IKO. And so I was like, that got me thinking. And I saw his diploma. He posted it on Facebook, and I was like, you know what? I want to get one too. And I want to get it from Denis. And I want to be, and it's for me, it's like closing a circle. The first competition that I took part was from my sensei, Steve Carter, who got me into kettlebells. So that I'm so happy about this. So just to jump a little bit into programming, Denis, what would you recommend to a guy like me who was able to hit CMS, 84 reps, nice, 5 minutes, and now I'm trying to go up to 107, 139. And to preface this, Alexander Khvostov gave me a pretty simple assignment, simple from the terms of how to go there. And he said, well, build up 200 reps with 24 in 10 minutes, then build up maybe 160, 170 with the 28, and you're there with the 32. So that was his recommendation. How would you go about it?
100% agree with Alexander. That's what I would suggest, that you deload to lighter weights. But well, you can also, like for snatch, I like to go 2 kilogram increment even. And I do, if with doubles, I do not perform 10 minutes with every weight on my weight 2 kilograms up, because with doubles it's just a little bit too much of a work. But with snatch, yes, always. I always start with 16 and I do 10 minutes with each weight. My weight to 32 was 2 kilogram increment: 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. So, and
Wow.
24s and 28s, they're just competition weight. So that's why Alexander, market, because that's how you can actually score on competitions. But I would also say that, and the way you make it to 24s is starting from 16s. And I would suggest to, go 10 minutes with each weight on your way up, with
Awesome.
16, with
It's
18,
great.
with 20.
Yeah.
And time-wise, if you handle 5 minutes with 32s, you probably should be able to handle 7 with 28s, and 10 minutes with 24.
Hmm.
And pace-wise, if you do 15 reps a minute with 32, then probably 17,
Hmm.
18,
Hmm.
should work with 28, and your pace
Hmm.
20 should work with 24. So yeah, this estimations
Awesome.
sounds good to me. And even when you will go, I would say that you can mark. If you right now in 5:32s, 7 minutes with 28s, 10 with 24, so you kind of wants to make one step up, where you ideally wants to maybe hit 10 minutes with 28s and maybe try to get like 7 minutes with 32s, like 7, 8. And that should be enough for your MS, because MS is just a number. You don't need to finish whole 10. As long as you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
107,
yeah.
you're good. So
Exactly.
whatever
I
time
could
it
have,
takes,
yeah, I could have stopped with the 65 for the CMS, but I just wanted to keep going.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
because I felt so awesome. So you're saying, hey, you should be able to hit, or if you're happy with 10 minutes of the 28, that equals probably, let's say, like 7 to 8 minutes with the 32s, and that should be enough to hit MS, right? And would you recommend to go step by step? Because for a guy like me who says, hey, I want to get MSIC because I feel like I'm falling in love with that stuff. And if I represent kettlebells on that platform that I have, I want the MSIC title. So would you say, all right, Gregory, focus on MS first and then MSIC? Or would you say, hey, well, if you're already there, jump to the MSIC right from the get-go?
Oh
What
no,
would you?
well, you cannot get from the first floor to the third floor
All right.
by skipping
I
second one, right? That's
yeah, I
the
got it.
ladders. The
I
ladders
got it,
go,
boss. I got it.
through all. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
All
Just
right.
do one step at the time, but
Yeah.
that's a ladder into the right direction.
All right.
So
All right.
of
That's
course,
awesome.
and you see, it's important to see a big picture, and it's important to know what's your ultimate goal,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not literal where you're aiming right now, because it's more
Okay.
complicated, and serious process that requires several steps and loops, training cycles, we call it in the kettlebell sport, right?
Yes.
So it's like,
Yes.
if you MS now for MSIC, well, it's probably will take you more than one training cycle, right? And it will take at least two, if like ideal scenarios, that you will get hopefully MS next training cycle. And once you hit that, you reset again and start over again, and then there is a chance that you might get to MSIC, but really it's it's a programming, it's lots of calculations, and you um, as far your progress through your training cycle, as better your predictions gets, because now it's a pretty rough estimates, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can guess that you maybe will gain this, what you have 20 reps, but um, you have a milestones on your way, right? You have these 200 reps to get with 24, and maybe,
Exactly.
10 minutes with 28, and then you will see how your pace will go, and you will understand better, where you go. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I always saying that as long as it's a progress, as long as you beat your last PR, you should be happy about it. It's definitely, will make no sense if your next, best effort result will be less than last one. That's okay, where I'm heading exactly, what I'm doing. But as long as you're getting there, even if it will be not a mess, well, you just you be specific, as specific as possible, and you see the numbers, and you get 85. Like, let's say your ideal goal now is 107. But you still, do not freak out if you're doing the set and you feel like you're getting a bit short. Don't drop it, please. Just finish it. Just get whatever you can get. So you at least will have a complete experiment, and you understand. That's the time you invested, and that's the gain you get. Maybe it will be not 107, but maybe it will be like 95, 99, 102, whatever. And okay, it's like maybe 10 reps short from MS, but hey, it's yeah, 10 reps short from MS, but maybe it's like 15 reps PR. And that's a
awesome.
great
Yeah.
success, actually, right? So you say, okay, like that's how it works. I invested my training cycle, and it gives me extra 15 reps. So maybe that will be your new formula now, that maybe each next training cycle you gain like 10, 15 reps ish, you say, okay, probably one more shot, and maybe I will get it from the next time. And
Love
well,
it.
you keep rolling and rolling like this, and it's someone, cannot get MS ever. Some guys, can get it from the first shot. Most of us take it several shots, but it's not about how long it takes. It's about you get it or not.
Achieving
I
it,
think
yeah,
that's
getting
yeah.
there, right?
So
And yeah,
yeah. So
I appreciate that perspective, because sometimes sometimes it's not that I've been doing this for so long, but I feel like you can get lost a little bit in the numbers and think like, wow, I only hit 100. Oh, that's not good. Goal is 107. Well, be happy, right? You got the 100. And the way I currently approach it is, I'd like to get your feedback to this too, is like Alexander said, he said, just build up the volume, make sure you have at least one set where you're completely fresh. Don't do GPP first and then do the snatch set, but do one set where you have snatch first and then do the GPP. And so that's currently my Saturday program. And so I have all throughout the week, I have 100 snatch with 24 on Wednesdays, 100 snatch with the 24 on Friday as a GPP. At the end of my actual workout that I do lots of double bell stuff. And then Saturday, I have now started with 110, 120, and just yesterday I hit 130 reps in 6 minutes and 37 seconds with the 24. Right. And so my goal is next week to go to 140, then 150, 160. So slowly building it up. Right. And do you think from a progression standpoint?
that's your best so far.
Yeah. No. It's not that I always do a best set on a Saturday. It's just I want to build the 200 reps. So I stopped 130.
No. What's your PR so far in Snatch 24?
Well, I didn't go for a PR actually. Yeah.
Well, what's your current, best performance?
Oh, currently it's just 130 reps with the 24 yesterday.
Well, so here we go. You see, so yeah, have you ever done 10 minutes at all with any weight?
Yes, with a 20, but that's years ago.
Well, you see, it like at this point, actually, if you're in 130, 200, also it's a little bit too far of a goal. It's like a 70 reps head. Well, and you're saying, if you're not pushing to your to your best, you're probably, having maybe another 10, 15 reps even right now. But kettlebell sport is about time, not about reps. Well, I mean, we're counting reps, but it's kind of second priority. So that's why I would, pushing this wave from 16. So you reset to 16, and well, the number of workouts you do to get ready for 10 minutes depends how challenging it feels. And if 16 feels really light, like myself, I just go for 10 minutes right away, because I don't feel like I need any preparation for 10 minutes, and with a 16, with 18, pretty much same. I also can go just for 10 minutes, but then with 20, well, I will maybe do a couple workouts. Maybe I'll do 3 per arm, 4 per arm, and then I do 10. And then with 24 or 22 kilogram, well, also will be a couple workouts. So, it's more challenging the weight. It's maybe more workouts I will get before 10-minute set. So, but anyways, you do 10 minutes with 16, you do 10 minutes with 20. So with 16, with 18, with 20, and then hopefully, because you will take your time and you've been there before, you'll have no doubts that you will get this 10 minutes with 20. But because you're taking this time, it hopefully will refine your technique, even probably will improve your pace a little bit, and you will have a really good set with 20. Will not feel like even maximum effort, even if it will be maximum pace. So you'll have confidence that, well, probably, with 22, I should get, close to 10 minutes. So you give your best for 10 minutes with 22. Even if it will be not 10 minutes, I don't know, maybe it will be 9 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then try
Mm-hmm.
what you will get with 24. And I have a feeling that you should get your PR upgraded, if you will do that progression, and we'll see how many reps you will get, because for me it was when I start using this programming, the actual result was improving like really rapidly in snatch. It was
Interesting.
outstanding when I start using 2 kilogram increment. So yeah,
So
the moment I
just
start using it, my PR was 140. It's actually kind of like same numbers that you have with 24, what I had with 32. So about 140. And then when I get my first set of a 2 kilogram increment, thanks to Sergey, thanks to Alexander Klastov coach, Sergey Rudnik, because he was my coach back then for like maybe a year and a half. So I get my first set of bells with 2 kilogram increment. And off season between long cycle, I thought, I will just do 10 minutes with each weight, 2 kilograms up, just for fun, see what will happen. 10 minutes with 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, and I get 160 reps, something, 165 with 32. And I said, oh, okay, it was
wow.
25 reps gain. And I
Yeah.
thought, next time, when I will have time for snatch, I will be doing 2 workouts per weight. I'll be doing 6 minute set and 10 minute set with each weight, with 16s, 18s, 20s, and we'll see, how much reps will I gain there. I thought, oh, it will be cool to gain another 20 reps, ha ha ha, and you can see this video on YouTube now. When Sergey counting for me, I hit 208 reps. Well, I get two of 4 in 10 minutes, and I just was keep going to match the current world record in snatch. I get like 40 reps PR by adding just one extra workout and have kind of like a intro workout with a weight and 10 minutes, 3 per
Mm-hmm.
arm, 5 per arm, 3 per arm, 5 per arm. And then I said, oh, okay, that's the when it's clicked to me how this progression works. And well, I'm expanded even a little bit more. So, you can spend like up to 2 weeks even with one weight, building up from like 2 minutes
Mm-hmm.
per arm, 3 minutes per arm, some intervals. But yeah, it's never failed me, this programming. So
So
yeah,
you
I would
were
even
so,
say.
yeah, so you would recommend just for me to understand, and that's not just for me, it's just for everybody to recommend to say, hey, hit the minutes first, right? Aim for the time first. So setting up that 10-minute set, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and not just keeping the reps in mind. So that's a big shift for me then. So saying time first, reps later. Is that right?
Yeah, and especially the fact that you managed 5 minutes with 32s, you have a quite potential. You have a strong grip. So yeah, it shouldn't be a problem for you 10 minutes with 24s. You just need to tune up your timing a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
get a little bit more efficient maybe with the grip, but it should work.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you'll do this progression, like really, from 16s to 24s, and take, well, you're not stretching it for too long, but you're not rushing through the weight.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting like, you will feel, like, okay, maybe I need a couple more workouts to really get ready for like 10 minutes with 18s. Like if you take as many workouts as you need to get ready for 10 minutes, but do a good 10 minutes with 16, with 18, with 20. We'll see. That's a question. Will you handle 22 10 minutes or not? Probably yes. So great. And then you'll try 24, but probably don't go heavier than 24.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it will not be at 10 minutes. If you'll be almost there, well, then basically reset again back to 16s and do the whole thing all over again. And well, that's how my life looks like last 25 years. I'm just rotating through several exercises, so I'm
Yeah,
doing like
yeah,
long cycle preparation, and I'm
yes,
usually do snatch pairing with a jerk, but idea is the same. I start 16s, peak to
yeah,
32s, back
yeah.
to 16s
It's
again,
always
32s,
two
back to
kg
16s
increments.
again,
Yeah.
and always
Hmm.
reset. And when you reset to light bells, you're refining your technique while you're at your frame and brain rest a little bit from the stress. And
Hmm.
it's just
Hmm.
right, when bells get heavy, you're ready for it again.
Hmm.
Um,
And what would be the when you say you hit the 10 minutes with the 16, do you have a rep count in mind where you say, all right, with 16 I have to hit at least, I don't know, 220 reps before I move on to the 18? So what would be the
I
rep
wouldn't,
scheme?
yeah, I wouldn't really be too strict about reps. The goal is to feel to the goal is to perform the most efficient and clean reps, effortless reps, and you're cruising on a
F
comfortable pace, and comfortable pace, it's usually the ones that not too slow and not too fast. When you're going maximum fast, you kind of willingly
Yeah.
sacrificing the efficiency for result. You're muscling better, so you don't want to do that with 16, because well, you're not learning anything from it, you're not refining your technique, and then if you will be using the same style with the heavier belts, it just will not work. So so that's why you leave this. Well, actually, what Coach Rudnick also was doing to me, and it was useful at the beginning, to not get bored with a comfortable pace on 16s. He was making me doing like 18-minute set with 16, one hand switch, 9 minutes per arm, and then 16-minute set with 18. You know, 8 minutes per arm, and then 14-minute long set with 20s, 7 minutes per arm, and then 12-minute long set with 22s, 6 minutes per arm, and then 10-minute set with 24s, which feels like such a short and pleasant, set after all this
Yeah.
like long sets.
Uh-huh.
So when you're exceeding the well, and it's you maybe will feel maybe a little bit too challenging at right now, but to go 18 minutes, but at least extra minute, maybe 12 at least minute with
I thought about
16s.
that. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you will be like, I would say 20 reps per minute. That's a fair,
Oh, I
like,
like that.
well, I would say somewhere between 20 and 24 reps a
Hmm.
minute with 16 should feel
Mm.
pretty comfortable. But you definitely don't want to sacrifice technique for reps.
Mm.
You're
Mm.
increasing pace if only you're also
If
keeping up
yeah,
technique wise
yeah.
with it. If you're still able to be even faster with your insertion and with the catch, you don't want to get sloppy, and you don't want to feel fatigue building up sooner than you want it to go.
All right. Unless you really want to hit some crazy numbers, right? Where you are already at the peak and then you really muscle it for the last couple of reps. You want to focus. I like that. You don't want to sacrifice technique for reps. You want to make sure you
Well,
have
it's
that. Yeah, go ahead.
it's just let's say Uh, sometimes you do the 10-minute set because you're just passing through, and sometimes that's a goal. So let's say
Mm-hmm.
if your goal is 24, even you do 10-minute set with like this competition weights of 16 and 20, you're not crushing PRs because it just your pass on the way to main event. So you just want to perform a good technique there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a competition with 16, well, then of course you will just
Of yeah,
do your best because
crank it
it's
out.
time to score, right? But
Exactly.
when you do 6 minutes, when you do 10 minutes with 16s on the way to 24s, well, that's what you're keeping in mind. That actually my investments to future
Mm-hmm.
set with a 24. So your goal is not a maximum reps, but like absolutely pleasant and effortless experience with no
Effortless. Yeah, I
fatigue
like
and the
that.
grip
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever, no any even tiny burn on the palm, like baby, palms, everything
Mm-hmm.
is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's type of feeling you want to carry on through all of the weights to 24s ideally. Snatch is about being kind of a weightless and fluent and light. It's
Mm.
not common practice to do snatch with slightly heavier belt than competition weight. It doesn't work in snatch well. It makes you a bit stiff. It's a good thing for doubles, for long cycle. Like I like to use
Interesting.
34s, 33s. It makes me feel stronger and more powerful bump. But because it's more like a strength component to it. But in snatch, it's endurance component and timing and precision. So it should be most of the time you spend on the lighter weights and even in faster pace, and you kind of like slowing down a little
Very
bit towards
telling. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Very telling. I appreciate that, Dennis.
No,
That's so
no.
powerful. So on a final note, and then I'll let you jump. That was really powerful. 2 hours of kettlebell sport masterclass. How would you rate GPP? Or just before that little question, if you have somebody preparing for long cycle or snatch or jerk, how many workouts would you say per week are necessary to build a solid volume for that particular event? May it be jerk, snatch, or whatever. Would you say at least twice a week you got to hit the jerk right fresh, or once a week? Or how would you go about it?
Well, I'm going 3 times a week
All right.
through my whole career. Well, it was a period of time at the beginnings when kind of I was experimenting with the pairs of jerk day, snatch day, and then jerk day, snatch day, 4 workouts per week, but kind of only twice a week per exercise. But very quickly, I realized that 3 times a week, that's just the way to go. And
Mm-hmm.
even when I'm in biathlon, I'm still doing jerk and snatch in the one workout. And
Mm-hmm.
so as GPP and cardio and mobility, 3 times a week, I think is the best, most organic schedule. So as many times I do bells, as many times I do GPP, as
All
many
right.
times I do running,
Mm-hmm.
as many times I do mobility. Well, the thing is that you don't need to fit it all into one workout. I do because, well, it's kind of formed first from just um, time savings. I used to commute, to the gym, and I feel like, just for me to get to the gym, I need to spend, over an hour, and I just don't have this time. So that's why I'm there and I'm doing it all, and it's kind of stick with me, and I like it. But you don't need to, especially if you have gym, you're working at the gym nearby. And actually, with Alex Khvostov, we worked together for a while in
Hmm.
Eurofitness, and yeah, he's well, we were working at the gym. He was a trainer there, so he have all access and all the time. So he have in GPP bells on the morning, and then GPP later on. Maybe nap a little bit. So like 100%
Mm-hmm.
focus on the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a opportunity, a possibility. So you can, if you want to, you can stretch it to 9 workouts a week, but it will be different types. It won't be 3 kettlebell workouts. Let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then GPPs you will have like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So
Mm-hmm.
it will be more workouts, but shorter ones. Like
Mm-hmm.
running,
Yeah.
if you have some nice trail, outdoors that you enjoy, it can be another separate running workout, on
Mm-hmm.
the morning or on the evening.
Mm-hmm.
But three is the best. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you
I
would
think you will
say,
take
yeah, go ahead.
the most of it. But well, probably if would be is that when you're in a very tough part of your training cycle, and that happened with me sometimes also, that let's say if you're on 32s, you've done your jerks, snatches, or long cycle, and you do really feel like you have nothing left to give. So it's okay to waive the GPP, on this rare
Oh, I
occasion.
get it.
When
Mm-hmm.
when the workouts with bells really intense,
Mm-hmm.
so it's you can you just sometimes you feel like it just make no sense to do this GBP because you exhausting yourself.
Is yeah,
You
you
really
wear
did,
yourself
yeah,
out.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So you
And
kind of keeping track on your
yeah,
battery level, how much
Exactly,
energy
and
you have left. Yeah.
listening to the body, exactly. And would you say, from a GPP perspective, and for those of you who don't understand, GPP is general physical performance, preparedness. This is what athletes do to build up their engine, their strength, their mobility, everything that has nothing to do with the sport lifts or with that particular sport exercise in and all by itself. That's just stuff that you do on the side to build up your body to handle to be more adept to the exercise or the sport exercise that you then have in front of you. But would you say, all right, so if you have, doesn't matter if it's long cycle, snatch, or jerk, would you say always start fresh with your main discipline? So if you have, like you said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you always say, let's just use my example because it's the one that's close to me. Snatch, MSIC. All right, so that means Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The first thing that you do after a good warm up, of course, is your snatch set.
Yeah, well, I call it a specialization, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, whom you see yourself as, if you are, because you can do several sports or several events, but you need to still prioritize. And if you're a kettlebell lifter, if you see yourself as a kettlebell lifter, well, then it's your first priority, and yes, that's the first thing you do after warm up. Because some people, they use kettlebell sport as a GPP. Let's say if it's some
Exactly. Yeah.
professional wrestler,
Yeah.
he can do bells for
Yeah.
conditioning. But
One of the
because he's
best
a
GPP
wrestler,
tools. Yeah, most definitely.
yeah, if he's a wrestler, then he will do wrestling first when he's fresh, and then GBP, and then bells he will do, well, whatever he have left in his tank, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if you're a kettlebell lifter at the first place, well, then yeah, you do
Mm-hmm.
kettlebell sport exercises first thing, and then GBP second.
Mm-hmm. And even if you have, let's say you have the snatch as your goal, and I do all the sport lifts all the time. I do jerk all the time with double 28s, double 20, all the weights. I do a long cycle all the time. I do double half snatch all the time. I feel like these exercises are so powerful. That's just a side note. These exercises are so powerful. They give me so much bang for my buck that I don't need to do anything else unless it's some squats or anything. But I'm just taking it from the athletic capabilities and the prowess of weightlifting, clean and jerk, snatch, squat, or what, squat just as a GPP. But I do these exercises all the time. But what you say, if somebody prioritizes a long cycle and this guy is doing snatch, long cycle, jerk, everything, would you say, yeah, but in your workout, long cycle comes first and then the rest of your bell work comes later? Would you even then prioritize your discipline?
Well, actually, myself, I never do all three exercises together. I always well, I have all kind of seasons for
Mm-hmm.
for events, and well, I'm keeping it a classic, cruising between biathlon and long cycle. Well, though last years I also have finding time for double half snatch preparation. But if I'm in long cycle, that's only the thing I'm doing. I'm not doing snatch at all. I'm not doing jerk at all.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm in biathlon, then I'm doing jerk and snatch, and I'm not doing long cycle at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's one thing. But if you like to do all three exercises, well, all of the exercises, well, then the question is how hard you pushing them. Are you pushing them same hard, or you like focus on snatch as
Mm-hmm.
major exercise towards MSIC, and
Mm-hmm.
then jerk and snatch you kind of just um, well, kind of maintain your technique, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
do like some
Mm-hmm.
technique work, but not really full size programming. You're not doing a 10 minutes of work, maybe like
Mm-hmm.
short sets, like 1 2
Exactly.
minutes. So
Exactly.
if that's like this, well then yeah, you can put them actually into GPP part.
All right. So that makes
If
sense.
you're
Mm-hmm.
doing jerks, even if it's a sport style technique, doubles, long cycle, and jerk, but you do them, you're not pushing, the limits, and you're not building up the progression there to 5 and 10 minute sets, and you just kind of playing with the shorter intervals. Yeah, it's uh, you can do that, and yeah, and that goes after snatch. That's for sure.
All right. So always prioritize for everybody who
Yeah,
wants to go in, always prioritize your main lift first
yeah,
when you do.
yeah,
All right. I
yeah.
get it. All right. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
because if
Yeah.
if you do biathlon, if you do jerk and snatch, well, then jerk traditionally goes first. That's how competition goes. Long jerk
Mm-hmm.
goes first and snatch go last. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why biathlon lifters, well, and Alex, Klastov, so you do the jerk first, and then you kind of getting used to being, a
Mm-hmm.
bit tired,
Mm-hmm.
going
Mm-hmm.
for snatch after jerks. But that's how competition goes, and well, that's what you do.
That's what's expected. Yeah, most definitely. All right, hey Dennis, we've been talking for over 2 hours. I appreciate it so much. There's a lot of stuff that I want to ask you, but I don't want to take too much of your time now. I know you have family. It's Sunday, and I appreciate you showing up. It's one of these moments where I feel like the circle is closing for me, where we met 4 years ago through that coaching lesson. I then took my own spin on kettlebells, and now I'm gravitating towards the sport lifts, recognizing that these are, I believe, when you look at the kettlebell as a whole, and I believe it's one of the best GPP tools ever. It takes care of almost everything if you use it the proper way. And since it is a cousin or a brother from weightlifting, and weightlifting is the expression of athleticism, the kettlebell lifts, the jerk, the snatch, the clean or the long cycle, just they deliver so much value for me that I don't see no need to do anything else unless maybe, stuff that you do, some body weight push-ups, some dips, some, maybe some squats, right? And that's maybe my final question before we end this. What are your favorite GPP exercises and why?
I like calisthenics a lot. If I would be put into a position to choose between weightlifting in calisthenics or calisthenics in the heartbeat. Though, some people will need weightlifting to get ready for calisthenics, but once you're there, once you can do a proper push-ups, dips, pull-ups, muscle-ups, yeah, that's all outstanding. I enjoyed it so much. Yeah, I like. Well, it's a little bit harder to satisfy a lower body with calisthenics. But well, jump squats. When you do a high volume jump squats, it's can be good enough for your legs. Though, well, I would say that for legs, my favorite would be squats. Back squats. I like the most, or maybe weighted jump squats. I like to have extra weight on when I'm working with my legs, but upper body. Yeah, I love I love push-ups, I love dips, I like pull-ups. Well, I like muscle-ups more than pull-ups. I like the
muscle up is tough stuff.
it's a long cycle upside down.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, that's a
Long
good
cycle
one.
you're pulling from the bottom. Muscle-ups you're pulling
You
up
go
from the
up.
top.
That's a tough one. And that's a tough exercise to do. And as a follow-up question, Dennis, do you include the calisthenics exercises as GPP because you enjoy them so much and they give you a lot of benefits, in terms of muscle as well? Or do you say, yeah, they give me some form of SPP, some form of benefit for my sport lifts, and that's the reason why I include them?
Oh yeah. Well, it's both. Luckily for me, it's both. I enjoy
Yeah.
them a lot, and it's really good for kettlebell sport. Well, you see, my favorite exercises, GPP exercises, the ones that have a static phase, and it's because if exercise have a static phase, it can be performed for high reps. So push-ups, if you can lock out your elbows, if you can have a static, that's it. You can get 100 reps of it. Dips, you can lock your elbows, you can get 100 reps of it. Excuse me. Pull-ups and muscle-ups. I always like it. It was a fun one. I always believe that muscle-ups should be pull-ups because pull-ups, muscle-ups have a better static phase, when you're resting on the bar on the top. Pull-ups while you're hanging,
Yeah,
but it's a grip limitation. You cannot hang for too
it burns.
long.
It burns quickly.
Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, my best effort was I did 56 muscle-ups in a row,
Wow.
and I never
That's
done so
solid.
many pull-ups. Yeah, so it's
I like
definitely
that.
great for kettlebell sport. So well, I'm doing it particular way. I do shoulder
Yeah,
wide
I see
stance
that.
when I do push-ups or dips, and that helps with my toe fixation here.
I
So
like that.
I'm strengthening my elbow and my shoulders, to get a solid elbow lockout and
Yes.
toe
It's
fixation.
such a great addition actually to doing the calisthenics exercises with this actual rest position where you're able to have the elbows or whatever joint it might be fully extended, that you can actually rest a couple of or just rest a little bit. It's a good addition to a calisthenics or just body weight exercises in general, because you normally you hear in calisthenics, all right, just do push-ups until you burn, and then you always keep build time under tension. But that's one thing that I saw you do, and I started including this time and time also as well, is in the push-up you go into full lockout position, you hold that position, you catch your breath, and then you do a couple of reps more. Then
It's
it's a
very
cool
good
way to
topic.
add it.
You are great. Well, not only kettlebell sport ambassador, but fitness ambassador. I'm following you. Subscribing on your videos. You're doing a really great
I
job,
appreciate
and
that.
it's a great topic. If you'll be interested, we can dedicate the whole conversation to it, because I think it's important part, especially for guys who's in kettlebell sport, to understand the specifics, of
Perfect.
auxiliary exercises.
Yes, Yes, we have to do this, Dennis. That's a very good idea. The next time you're on, we're going to talk about GPP, bodyweight stuff, calisthenics, your programming, what you recommend. Such a great idea to end this powerful conversation. Dennis, once again, thank you so much. It's so valuable to listen to you. It's I'm learning a lot. I took a lot of notes. It's a good thing that I actually shut up. I just listened. So I get the most out of it. People always be like, shut up, Gregory. You got to let these people talk. So, Dennis, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll stay in touch. Until the next time. If you like this episode, you can watch another one right here or here. And if you're over 40 and you want to become strong, fit, and lean without going to the gym twice as fast, don't forget to download my free ebook in the first link in the description called the Kettlebell Code. If you're over 40, 50, or 60, you don't have a lot of time, but you still want to become strong, fit, and lean, and the Kettlebell is the perfect tool for this job. And I'm going to help you how to get started. So download that free ebook right now in the first link in the description. Enjoy.